on this extremely smoggy day. I don't even need my sunglasses. I'm feeling pretty damn smug driving around in my electric vehicle. But the thing with this electric vehicle, obviously, as you can see by the caption below the video, this is the all-new 2023 Toyota bZ4X. I'm coming to grips more and more so, and this is what happens, via or through experience driving more EVs, realizing that clearly they're not all made equal. And what's perhaps most shocking, and this is not news or anything, is that this is Toyota's first full EV. Toyota, right? The brand that invented hybrids, the brand that committed itself to being eco, energy efficient, blue, green, all of the above, is late to the game. And in many respects, without going over the entire gambit of reasons why, I don't necessarily disagree with what they're doing, aka concentrating on hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and eventually electric vehicles. And it's kind of strange in many ways because if this is their first offering, maybe they should have put it off a little bit longer. That is really, really harsh because, effectively, it's a late entry. And by late only has to be 6 months, right? In this incredibly, unbelievably fast-paced world of electric vehicles. Now, over the last little while, one EV, and I will use it, the Nissan Ariya, it is the perfect average in many, many respects. And I was kind of mean to it. And I wish now that I had the bZ4X when I was supposed to get it, which was previous or before I got the Ariya the last time. Because I would have possibly changed my tune ever so slightly. Because let's face it, the bZ4X has a horrible, horrible name. Toyota could have used Tercel or Cressida Corona. That's what they should have called it. Because bZ4X just clashes. RAV4, it's been around for 25, 26 years now. Shoot, longer than that. 1996 was the first year, I think. So we're used to it. 4Runner, that's something else. bZ4X. Just as and this is going to be a long video, I'm apologizing right now. bZ is part of Toyota's branding for its EVs, for Beyond Zero. I don't know. I would not have called it bZ, and I would have done a lot of things differently, but I have no idea how most of this works, so I could not have done any better, that's for sure. At least I'm honest, come on. But what I can do, however, is compare this to, say, the Ariya and the Ioniq 5 and 6, and to the ID4 and a whole bunch of other vehicles. And this one comes in just about dead last when it comes to, well, about everything EV about it. Yeah, that's pretty rough. And strangely enough, that applies mostly to this version, which is the top-loaded XLE with the tech package, all-wheel drive. I could go on and on and on and on, but I think we're going to get down to business. We're going to do a walk around because this is definitely not your typically styled Toyota, though there are clear signs that there's a Toyota-ishness to it, and obviously there's a lot of Subaru-ishness to it as well, because as we know, this is the Subaru Solterra's identical twin, with minor differences, effectively. So we're gonna do the walk around the vehicle. I'm gonna give you an idea of the size of this vehicle. It's really small, but big at the same time. Anyhow, and then obviously we're gonna talk about pricing, and then we're gonna take it for a spin. And this is just in comparison with what's available right now, because there isn't that much available right now. This thing kind of falls short in a number of respects. So please hang in there, and here we go. All right, so styling wise, well, You see, this exact vehicle, as I noted, was the top trim XLE with all the bells and whistles, and frankly, it's not that bad looking. But if you ever spot another bZ4X on the road that doesn't look really much like this, that kind of looks like a, I'm being really mean today, it must be the smog. I'm getting high, but not good high. The L and LE front wheel drive models, they look like rentals. It's just horrible. Yeah, especially if they're white. I mean, the bad parts are just up front here. There's so, I don't know, there's too much flatness to everything. I mean, the flares are body colored, not body colored, thankfully, otherwise it would look even more rental-like. The front end here, you can kind of imagine the Subaru grille stamped into the bumper cover. And the overall shape, you can kind of see where it's rounded out there. Anyway, but I mean, look, because this is an XLE, plus it's supersonic red, which means you get the black roof and the rear spoiler, it doesn't look all that bad. And in the rear, there's kind of a Lexus style thing going here with the tail lights. It's very Toyota-ish, so as far as that's concerned, yeah, it's noticeable. But the lower trim models, just, I mean, I see a few almost every day when I drop my kids off at school and daycare. There's a few of them out there, and it's pretty horrible. Okay, so happy times. In the US, two trims, XLE for $42,000, that's the base model. And then there's a limited $46,700. All-wheel drive is about $2,000 or $2,100 US more for both trims. Now in Canada, it starts at $44,990 for the base L. Now that includes an 8-inch touchscreen display, 7-inch digital IP, 18-inch wheels, wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, the basics, but not the basics. Because if you want what I believe to be the most important stuff, such as a power tailgate, heated front seats, plus a heated steering wheel, you got to get into the LE for $49,990. It's not completely crazy and off the mark, but it's not that cool. Plus, it's only available front-wheel drive. Now, if you want all-wheel drive, you got to get, like I said, the XLE. Well, the badge is on the other end. And it starts at $54,990. I mean, you get the aforementioned heated front seats and steering wheel, power hatch, but you get the panoramic roof, wireless charging, and a bunch of other stuff. Now, if you step up to the $7,760 tech package, you get the cooled front seats, 20-inch wheels, Softex seats, which are really nice actually, JBL audio, digital key, which means you can share a key digitally through your smartphone, which is kind of a neat feature. Oh yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, XLE says XLE, and if it's a tech, it doesn't say XLE. I think I got that right. And oh yeah, this big spoiler, which is kind of neat, I have to admit. And I think the roof rails are part of the XLE package. Anyways, long story short, $62,750, which isn't completely nuts. Now, yeah, I think the supersonic red is an option for a few bucks, but basically $63K, you get what you see here. So price-wise, it's not that bad. And if you compare it to the Aria, it's still stupidly expensive, because for this price, you can get the same amount of equipment, but with only one engine. Electric motor. But this one, you know, two electric motors, but yeah, okay, I'll go on that. I'll touch on that in a few moments. I suppose, yeah, let's boot around. Let's see if it's gonna work. Doesn't always work. This is also, yeah, that's also part of the tech package. So this reveals 784 liters, and I just am reminded that I forgot to give you an idea of the size. Storage for your cable, very decent trunk, really, really wide, good layout. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, just overall length, this thing is 9.4 centimeters longer than a RAV4. The wheelbase is about 16 centimeters. I know in inches. I mean, I don't know in inches, so if there are a few Americans watching, that's the way it goes in Canada. So 16 centimeters, but it's 5 centimeters lower, and I think the width is almost the same. So it's got a larger footprint than the RAV4, but it's kind of squished. All right, so, oh yeah, rear heated seats, did I mention that? Also part of this. It's actually quite spacious. I have to admit, I mean, the wheelbase is very long, so like the door opening is large, and you can easily fit two in the back, two adults or the two kids, but you won't squeeze another passenger between the two. USB-C charging, rear heated seats, as I mentioned. Okay, so nothing inherently wrong here. It's very Toyota-ish, which is decent materials, good fit finish, and gloss black. It's supposed to look good, but I'm not too sure about that. Decent door bins, I guess I'll mention that now. So power lumbar support, and these seats are actually impressively comfortable. I mean, the support is huge. The Softex is nice. It's supple but firm at the same time. It's very, very cool. Now, this is a good time to show you the bin below the bridge, which is very useful. Okay, so well, here's an idea of what I'll be facing. Okay, let's just do it in the right order. Okay, so we're going to start it up. So here is your 7-inch display, which is kind of somewhere between where you'd normally get your digital IP and heads-up display. And frankly, with the steering wheel, which is really small, it's really, really cool. I don't know why this reminds me kind of like 80s Citroen. But the point is, I have to keep the steering wheel low in order to be able to see the gauges. So it's kind of weird. 12.3-inch display. This is actually quite nice. A lot of buttons. You see all the gloss black here. Thankfully, it's smoggy, or unfortunately, it's smoggy right now. But the reflections are very low. But when there's a fair amount of sun, and the roof shade is open, this gets very, very shiny, very, very quick. But basically, I mean, everything is it's straightforward. It's whatever. It's very straightforward. Menus, typical stuff. HVAC straightforward, so your volume and your temp and your fan speed. I kind of like how the buttons come out of the screen. Yeah, I don't care. Wireless charger. So this has a lid over it. Now, I don't know if you've had any experience with wireless chargers, but my iPhone 13 Pro, which is only about 18 months old, overheats usually when the wireless charger works. So I don't know why you'd put a lid over it, just so it cooks. But yeah, there's your USB port. Very deep cup holders, that's nice. This is decent too, but the slider cover is too weak, so you can easily move it. That one didn't show well. I can easily move in your elbows on it, so that's maybe making it a little tighter. What else do I want to say? I love this material on the dashboard. It's funny because, you know, I was around a long, long time ago where materials like this were on cheap cars, but this actually looks really, really good. And visibility. I'm sure this was a criteria on behalf of Subaru, as their cars always have fantastic visibility, and that's absolutely true when you come down here and look at the pillars. They're very, very thin. Yeah, JBL audio, I think I mentioned that. I think, oh no, okay, so yeah. So your drive modes, there's Eco, which was gonna appear here. Yeah, there you go, Eco. And then there is no one pedal drive. There's just this. So, and that appears there. So that pretty much covers all your drive modes, and I think we're done. Just so you know, with your foot in the brake, that's how you put in drive, reverse, and park. That's it. Yeah, drive time. All right, as we take off, I am in the max brake regen mode, and I am also in eco drive mode. And honestly, I've done the very vast majority of my driving in this mode, except for one quick jaunt yesterday where I removed those two modes and attempted to benefit from the dual engine layout. So I guess now's the time to talk about that. So if you get a base front wheel drive bZ4X, now let's be honest. So single electric motor layout, if the motor is in the front, I don't know, it seems like a less than desirable situation, especially if you can select the automaker, I mean, to position the single motor in the front or in the back. I don't know how much longer single motor vehicles with electric motors, of course, will offer front wheel drive. I mean, it seems less desirable, and I kind of touch on this on my Aria review, and Polestar and Volvo, premium brands, fine. fine, they're doing the swap. One engine goes in the back. But if you do select front wheel drive, L or LE, bZ4X, you get a 71.4 kilowatt hour battery and all of 201 horsepower, 196 pound-feet of torque. So taking into consideration this is a 4,200 pound vehicle at that point, and it's electric, so it's instant torque and all that, but your 0 to 100 time is going to be 7.5 seconds, which is reasonable for most front wheel drive, say like a Kona EV or Soul EV or something like that, EV. So that's fine. You'll also have access to the maximum, estimated range for bZ4X, which is 406 kilometers. It's borderline okay. Borderline okay. Now, if, like me, you want to benefit from more power, then you get the XLE all-wheel drive, and then you get 2 electric motors and a slightly larger battery at 72.8 kilowatt hours. So output is 214 HP and 248 pound-feet of torque. So both motors are identical. I can't math too well, but I think it's like 107, and 140, I don't know, 128, 128. I don't know, I can't count. And weight obviously goes up to nearly 4,500 pounds. So performance is, well, this is the low end of the average for a dual electric motor layout. And remember, it's about $55,000. For that same price, you get at least 320 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque in an Ioniq 5 for the same money. If you're into power, for example. And range takes a little bit of a dip despite the slightly larger battery, not that it makes any difference. So you're looking at 367, which again is on the lower end of the average. It's come to that. This is the reality. That's just the way it is. On a 0 to 100 kilometer an hour time has dropped to 6.9 seconds. Wow, it really is Sunday after a holiday because people can't drive today. Wow. Sorry. And that's one thing. With the smaller battery, charging speeds, right? On a fast charger, you can get up to 150 kilowatts, so which is fine, adequate, pretty good. But when you get the larger battery with dual engines, 100 kilowatts. So even on a DC fast charger, they go from 10 to 80. You're looking at way too much time, period. It doesn't matter what the exact number is. I say that because I forgot. At least I'm being honest again. But I think it was in excess of 50 minutes, something like that. So that's really unfortunate. I think at 100 kilowatts, it's one of the slowest fast charging EVs you can buy today. And there's a 6.6 kilowatt charger on board, which again, compared to, 7.5 all the way up to almost 11 for a lot of other EVs. That means like charging it at home will take 12 hours or 11 hours, something like that. It is not, it's possible that if you come in at home at 9 and you want to leave the next day at 7 to go to work, something like that, okay, you'll get a full charge. But the point is, that's really long and it's very slow to charge. And based on that, few things. The way the bZ4X has started out, not really good with, a lot of disclaimers in the press releases about the car not charging, possibly if it's too cold, and a bunch of recalls about wheels falling off or something like that. What I was saying before on the intro, maybe they should have held off a little bit longer. The upside, despite all of this, is that the ride quality or the drive is not bad. And in true previous Toyota fashion, the nicer you are, I'm completely on the floor, yes, in eco and whatever, but it doesn't really boogie. And even if I go into non-eco and take brakes off, regen braking, there are no various modes as you would get in a Korean, for example. The ride quality, in true old Toyota fashion, it doesn't like to be pushed or pressed for time, if you will. The big 20-inch Bridgestone Turanza tires, just mild. And I do mean, I like clipping apexes, but it can be done at slower speeds, so I'm doing it at slower speeds, and they squeal. And I don't think it's the tires, I think it's the weight and the way the suspension is configured. It's kind of unfortunate, let's just say. But otherwise, steering is fine, and the brake pedal is fine. And I mean, just if you drive normally and comfortably and relaxed, the drive is just fine. It's about on par with the Aria, which I had essentially complained that it was a little, slightly sportier than comfortable. Same thing applies to this, but it's not sporty at all. It just feels like it thinks it wants to be sporty. It really is a day after a holiday right now. Look, the bottom line is that for a short-term relationship with an EV, which is what you should do, don't aim for anything more than 4 years, the Koreans are just on top. They're killing it. They're destroying the ID4 from Volkswagen. They're murdering, in my opinion, the Mach-E from Ford. They're making mincemeat out of this, and they're poo-pooing on the Aria. There's just no touching them, and I'm talking about mainstream brands here. BMW is doing other stuff and all that. Yeah, this thing is not very impressive, but it's an EV nonetheless. And if you plug it in at home every day, you're fine. Otherwise, you can't see it. You can see the butt end. No, I'm not gonna hit the Camry. Yes, I know. A Leaf, just get a Leaf. That's cheaper, or a Bolt if you can find one, or wait. That's it, I'm done.